Welcome back to 40s and Free Agents with Daniel Jeremiah and Gregg Rosenthal. If you are watching us on YouTube, you will note that DJ's name for the first time goes first. Congratulations. That is the payoff for winning our Super Bowl picks. So now finally you're on top of the call sheet, DJ. A big milestone for you.
Yeah, top billing. I'll be honest with you. It was it was something that it wasn't part of my goals. It wasn't something I was striving to do. It's just when you put your head down, you work hard, you don't pick stupid teams, good things happen. That's kind of what my coaches used to always tell me.
Probably most people are listening are like me before I realized that my name was first. Is like, how was Jeremiah's name not first the whole time? He's the host.
You're hosting. You're the host. You're the host.
He's the host of the NFL draft. He's got the social pop. But the difference is, it's my season. It's free agency season, at least for this episode. So, look, we got the top 101 free agents. It's coming out later this week, early next week, right before the combine starts. So we're going to do a big combine preview and put that up next week. But this week, we're going to have DJ do something that he wouldn't do for me as a friend. So I'm only going to do it, he's only going to do it for me as a co-host, which is he's going to help me on my top 101
Pretty big ask
list.
Over email, to be honest. Kind of a big ask. And I didn't see who all the other people you sent it to. So it's like, well, wait, is he sending this to 50
I know.
people?
Well, what am I
I'll let the other
do?
49 people do that. I got a lot going on.
It was just like 5 or 6 people I consider the most elite ball knowers in the business, and I just send them my 101. It's some people with teams, it's some people in the media. People don't want their names out there. And just like, if anyone stands out to you, it's a little market correction. Tell me who you think is too high or too low. So our exercise today, we're going to go through the defensive side, because me and you, we've already talked about the offensive side. And you can just give me your thoughts if anyone's too high or too low, or just about these players in general. And I'll go through them position by position. Let's start at the edge, where there's good depth. There's always pretty good depth at edge in free agency, where you can find a guy at the end of the list that can give you 400, 500 good snaps. But at the top of the list, it's very intriguing. I have 4 guys in my top 10 overall right now. I have Jalen Phillips actually ahead of Trey Hendrickson. So I'm curious what you think about that. But I will say the other 2 guys in my top 10. I really battled between Odafe Owe and Boye Mafe. Who would go first there? Ultimately, I don't think it's that important. It's kind of different flavors, and I think they're both really good free agents to be available if they do not get franchise tag. They are 9 and 10 right now on my soft list. Phillips, I have 3rd overall. Hendrickson's just behind them. That first big group, we could go through them player by player, but I'm curious for your thoughts on the order.
Yeah, I like it. To me, here's an interesting question. And as I'm kind of going through this, I'm looking at some of the decisions that need to be made. So if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, I know people have said, okay, well, Max Crosby's name's been thrown out there as a trade candidate. And I know you've talked about that. And so Howie's always in on anything. Any deal that comes up, he's always going to kick the tires on it and explore it. My thing is, I would rather pay Jalen Phillips top of market, which you're going to have to pay handsomely for him. You already know how he fits in your defense. You know how good he is. He's young. You don't have to give up draft picks. So to me, that, there's a lot of incentive just looking at it from the outside in. Jalen Phillips should stay in Philadelphia. I would imagine they would pay what they need to pay to keep him, because you're either going to have to go out in the free agency market to replace him and spend a bunch of money on somebody you don't know how they fit in your system, or I got to, trade a haul of picks to go get somebody like Max Crosby.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a single player that made more money in his contract year than Phillips, because he was just coming off those back-to-back devastating injury years, and you were wondering if he was ever going to be the same guy. And instead, he played great, and you actually get the feeling, another year removed from those injuries, he might be even better. He's in his prime. I've seen some other lists out there. Check it out. I see Hendrickson on at number 1. He's going to be 32 years old. Obviously, he can help you out in the short term. But my debate was more like, does he even go ahead of Owe and Mafe, who are younger players, obviously not as explosive or complete, but Hendrickson's getting up there in years. You watched Owe for the Chargers. He's another guy who made himself a lot of money down the stretch. I like Mafe, more of his style. I think you know what you're getting with him. Maybe there's a little more of a ceiling with Owe, and Mafe is not a guy you're going to play that you're going to expect to get 15 sacks, but I think you're going to get 600 really productive snaps, a pure pass rusher. What did you see out of Owe? He's kind of like been up and down as a pro, and maybe even as a prospect. Was like not a project, but a guy you hoped would develop as a pro.
Yeah, you're kind of just wondering when the production was going to match the explosiveness and the speed that he had. He's tall, he's athletic. I mean, you can watch his brother play college basketball. He's one of the best college basketball players in the country to see how athletic the family is. But he's got big time speed. The question was, will he ever develop power? And is there polish there as a rusher? Well, when he came over to the Chargers and watching him each and every week, I'm like, okay, he has more ways to win. And the speed is legit. It is real. And it wasn't just the 7.5 sacks he had, since he came over to the Chargers. It was the playoff game. We had 3 sacks and I believe 2 forced fumbles, against that. That was kind of the first exposure to that Patriots offensive line, if you remove Myles Garrett, of people saying like, like I know they're winning games, but this is a problem. And I think Owe helped himself there. The only thing I would say about the order here and how you have it stacked up, I would say I like doing these in clusters. Mm-hmm. So you have that group of 4. I'll expose the next 2. Then you have the 2 veterans, the former Chargers and Mack and Bosa. And then you have Kwity Paye. I would lump Kwity Paye in the same group with Owe and Mafe. I think those, like, he's in that where the production hasn't, elevated to the athleticism. But I think those 3 guys, I think teams inside free agency rooms are going to have those 3 names and they're going to debate them and kick them around and compare them. This
is a good thing to know. And to me, the rankings are a combination. Mostly it's my if I was running a team who I like, who I think is good. But I do want to factor in position scarcity, age, like how the league is going to view him. And it's a good note that Kwity Paye is probably going to be thought of a little higher. Certainly not many guys with that sort of talent coming off their rookie contract that's going to be available. Mack and Bosa are just in the 1 year.
They're like a holding tank. They're like in a holding tank on your list.
But I think that's underrated. I think teams overrate the Kwity Payes a little bit and underrate. I mean, if you've just been going year to year with Khalil Mack, for instance, the last few years,
I think the Chargers
you've been pretty happy with it.
I think the Chargers would absolutely love to do that. But I think that when you're in the draft room, the way people just assume that it's just positions and then they're just stacked vertically and just one name's on top of the other. We would kick some cards over to the side, back when you're using cards in the olden days. But like those would be like the 2 veteran guys and kind of like, okay, they're kind of their own deal here. They're in their own little holding tank.
That makes sense. Okay, we're spending a little more time on edge. I'll go faster through some of the positions that aren't as deep. But I do want to see if any of the guys lower on the list strikes your fancy a little. Just running through a few of the names. Kayvon Chason coming off a nice year for the Patriots. Joseph Asai, I'm wondering how the league is going to view him coming off his rookie contract. Definitely had his best year for the Bengals. And then you get into kind of the older veteran types. Reddick, Al-Qaeda Muhammad had a lot of production this year. Jadeveon Clowney had a lot of production this year. There's a couple guys coming off injuries, Sam Williams and Malcolm Kuntz, who I like. Another young player I threw in there is Arnold Ebiketie, had a better 4th season for the Falcons. It goes on and on. You got our colleague Cam Jordan is available. Like, you can find guys in free agency. I'm curious if there's anyone there that strikes your fancy as too high, too low, who you like.
No, I think it's in a good spot. I'm always curious. Like AJ Epinesa to me is just like a good, solid player.
Yes.
And I think sometimes those guys that might make a little more than you think just because they're just dependable, reliable, steady Eddies. So that's one of the names that stuck out a little bit there. But the other thing is, and we can kind of go through it as we're going through these other positions. It's a loaded draft at the edge position spot. So maybe you do find some value with some of these guys in the middle, the lower tiers here.
Yeah, I think you do. Like, that's a good note because I'm very vain, DJ. So if I see a guy like Epinesa, who I have in the 80s or 90s, or he's not on the list, and then some team gives him some big contract, I feel like an idiot. So this is why I'm taking.
To predict this stuff.
I'm taking these notes. Epinesa, who I agree, I kind of like him, and in the end, I value him more than a guy like a Kyle Van Noy, who's a good player, but older. Defensive tackle, there's not much, and it sounds similar in the draft.
Yeah.
The best guys I have are older guys: Jonathan Franklin Myers, DJ Reader, Onyemata, Calais Campbell. So it's just letting the listeners know, if you're looking for a young rising defensive tackle, it's not going to happen. The closest you might get to that is Logan Hall, who's kind of developed into a solid player for the Bucs, but other than that, don't expect to find many defensive tackles.
Yeah, which to me informs my thoughts on the draft, which is the DTs, which there's some imperfect players, but they're good players. So where I might look at them and say this isn't a traditional first round pick. The fact that free agency is a little thin and there's going to be needs there. Everybody wants to play with 2 high safeties, and they're going to need their front 7 to stop the run. They need their down guys to be able to play a block and a half. Maybe that moves a guy like I'm thinking of Caden McDonald from Ohio State, more of a run plugger than a pass rusher. Maybe that elevates him back up into the first round. He's just outside that for me.
And there are guys out there like Sheldon Rankins. When I talk about guys get underpaid in free agency, he's been on these 1-year deals. He was great for the Texans. He was how many first round picks?
He's very scheme specific. You want to get him on a team that lets him get up the field and go.
And so he's a free agent. So there's guys like that out there. Sebastian Joseph Day, Draymond Jones, Daquan Jones, guys who can help you out.
Hand played well for the Chargers too.
Wrote him down too. My overall take, and I'll talk about this a little more on Friday when we unveil the 101. I actually think this is a good free agent class for depth. It's actually, I guess the league's not excited about it, blah, blah, blah. The top 30, probably worse than usual, top 30 or 40. My 100 to 150, I think there's good players at 130, 140, and I do this every year, where a lot of times I'm scratching and clawing to get to 101, 110. So I actually think it's going to be easier to find just helpful 500 snap type of players. Like I'm saying, like a Deshaun Hand, Sebastian Joseph Day. I'm having a hard time getting them into the top 100. I think in previous years they would have been there. So just an overall.
See, you're doing this list every year now, and you're slowly just morphing into a scout, this is what we do, Greg, is that we get more excited about our day 2, day 3 guys. Like, we don't talk as passionately about the guys at the top of the draft. It's like, that's no fun. Like, the fun stuff is like, how do I sort out these 5 third-round corners that are kind of, all clumped in together? See, you're getting sucked in, man.
I am.
Minus the Marriott points.
It honestly hurt me the moment where I realized Kyrus Tongo's probably not making my 101. He kept moving down the list. I was like, man, but Kyrus Tonga, for 350 snaps, dynamic. All right, linebackers I want to spend a little more time on because I think it's really good in free agency and the value of the position. It's good in the draft. I think a market correction is due for linebackers and tight ends. They should be getting paid more. They're so valuable if you could find some good ones. And I think there's 6 good ones here in free agency that can still play in the middle of their prime.
Can I
please
rain on your parade as you're getting ready to get this thing started with the first float, getting ready to turn around the corner and come down Main Street? There were, I believe, 5 linebackers that started in the Super Bowl. 4 of them were undrafted. Yeah,
and are they a long-term solution for the New England Patriots? Jack Gibbons getting beat by A.J. Barner on that touchdown? Do they want Robert Spillane starting
the team that
when
won
it matters?
The Super Bowl? The team that won the Super Bowl had a 3rd-round pick and an undrafted player.
Sure, but they paid Ernest Jones $39 million. So
no, but I'm just saying, like it's interesting to just kind of look at it, how teams have put resources elsewhere is what I'm getting at.
How I would look at it to push back would be 5-6 years ago when running back values were at their very bottom, when you actually had a healthy McCaffrey or at the time like a healthy Joe Mixon, who I'm trying to think, when you actually had there was only 5 or 6 difference makers. That was a big time advantage. And those guys were underpaid. And I think that can be what linebackers are like right now. If you have a Zach Bond, I think that opens up what the rest of your team gets to do.
Though, by the way, you've been a lot of Zach Bond out of you this year. I thought he did not play as good this year as he did the previous year. But
I think that's fair. Definitely not as many splash plays. But I do think having a guy like that, like having a good tight end, helps you construct your defense in a way and a flexibility of how you want to play. And you need one of those guys. But that's fair.
No, I mean, look, you're talking, and now we're getting way off topic. But look, I was in Baltimore at the height of Ray Lewis's powers. I've seen what a off-the-ball linebacker can do and mean for a defense. But it's just league-wide right now, kind of looking around the league, they haven't, valued it. And the Fred Warners are the Fred Warners, they're going to get their money, that elite group of those, kind of like the running back thing where we're saying those top 5-6 guys, maybe you can go to 10 guys. But outside of that, they haven't been willing to spend. So this will be a good litmus test for them with this free agency group.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think they'll spend because every player here is a little flawed, but Devin Lloyd would be the least
Oh my gosh,
flawed.
you've already come off of it. I mean,
Well,
you've already.
I'm not saying they're going to get paid. I'm saying they're underpaid. I don't think the league is necessarily going to give a lot of
give me your
money
list here. What
to
do we got?
Nakobe Dean. Okay, I have Lloyd pretty high on my overall list, top 10.
Yeah.
I think he made a huge difference for them this year in Jacksonville. The other guys are further down, but I think they are all interesting in their own ways. Nakobe Dean, Devin Bush coming off a second-team All-Pro season, really struggled with what to do with him because that came out of nowhere, but he was awesome. Leo Chanel is an interesting player for the Chiefs. Caden Ellis has been awesome for a while for the Falcons. And Quay Walker has a lot of talent, former first-round pick for the Packers. So I think different types of flavors there. Just starting with Lloyd, would he potentially be a guy you like and give a lot of money to in free agency?
I would say he's the most polarizing player on that list. I liked Lloyd coming through the draft process, and then it didn't happen for him early in his career. He's trying to figure out exactly what he is and who he is. And I think he's one of those guys that the ball, this is the way I'd say it. He's always around the ball. He's very instinctive. He makes plays in the ball. You look at all the interceptions. And then other people on the other side of the aisle say this guy is Johnny on the spot. The ball just kind of found him. They don't look at him as making plays. They look at plays being presented to him. I really like him, but I'm just saying there's not this universal high opinion of him. And I think it'll be interesting to see, they had a really good defense last year in Jacksonville. Do they effort to bring him back, or are they willing to move forward?
That will be telling. They're not going to franchise tag him. The number is huge. There are people who
they didn't pick up his. I mean, it was another regime. They didn't pick up his option right before.
Right. They didn't, and that's never a great sign. But he also had his best year this year. I do think he improved in his third season too. He was already getting to the point where he was a plus starter. Nakobe Dean, I know, is a player you're really familiar with. Caden Ellis, I love. It was very hard to balance a guy like Caden Ellis, who you know what you're getting, versus potential Leo Chanel. It always worried me that Chiefs only used him for 400 snaps, but man, those 400, 500 snaps were dynamic. I kind of like him better than
Have you ever seen a play where he's not just mugging the center? Like, he's always just up on the line of scrimmage, and it's such a unique ability that he has there. He's freaking huge.
I think for the right, really creative defensive coordinator out there, because the Chiefs, I don't think, are going to be able to afford him, he will just be a fun piece. I don't know if you had any thoughts on Quay Walker coming out and right now, because he's someone that's divisive too. I think I'm lower on him than consensus. I'm going to have him lower on my list. I know he'll get some money from someone.
His profile is going to go above is going to get him paid above where he is on your list, because he's got elite traits. He was a high pick, and he's someone that people feel like at his age is still ascending. So it hasn't got there. He hasn't figured it all out yet. But he would be the version of the Owe Mafe.
Yes.
Quiddy Pay group. He's the linebacker version of that.
To me, a little less evidence that it's ever going to happen. Been in a couple seasons for the Packers. It'll be telling to me if the Dolphins go after him, because if Jeff Hafley's not that interested and the Packers aren't that interested, that's not a great sign. And then there's a million solid veterans that you can go after. Demario Davis, Alex Anzalone, Bobby Wagner, Quincy Williams, Alex Singleton. If you just need a trusted hand,
kind of a nerve center, if you need somebody to be your communicator and veteran guy.
Not a hard position to fill. Yeah. Justin Strnad is a guy our friend on the show, Ollie Connolly, just loves as kind of a unique role player that could fit in a different system. Let's go to the defensive backs. I really struggled to sort the top of this list out. Jalen Watson is a guy who's just steadily improved. The Chiefs have a way of coaching up these cornerbacks, and then they let them go, which is a little worrisome. And so he's just a solid player who's had a lot of really good snaps and high leverage moments. I ended up putting him on the top. Jamel Dean is coming off a fantastic season for the Bucs, has had an up and down career. He's getting closer to 30. Tariq Woolen has all the talent in the world. And I really like Alontae Taylor as a guy you can move around. So those four to me stood out as the cornerbacks atop my list, all top 30 players on my top 101. I don't know if any of those stand out to you.
Yeah, I'm curious on Tariq Woolen, just because it's like he literally is a definition of a hero or zero, like it is splash plays. It is just dripping with size and athleticism and can play the ball. And then there's the brain cramps and getting lost in coverage and losing his cool in a playoff game. Like there's a little bit of a roller coaster ride you go on with him. So he would be the one I would say would be hardest to peg. If he ended up getting the second most money of this group, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up getting the 7th or 8th most on this group. I think he's got the widest range is what I'm getting at.
This position is so hard to spend a lot of money on. Jamel Dean is a perfect example. Very up and down in his rookie contract, then has a great season, gets a big contract. He's always leaving games with injuries. Then he's starting to struggle. They actually made him take a pay cut last year, DJ, to come back. They give Zion McCollum a ton of money. Then this year, Jamel Dean has the season of his life. Zion McCollum really struggles. Jamel Dean had just taken a pay cut. Now he's sitting free agency coming off a high. The metrics will tell you he was one of the very best players in the league. Nahshon Wright is a guy who's bounced around and is coming into free agency at the right time. I think him and Trevon Diggs and maybe even Asante Samuel Jr. fit into a boomer bust, but maybe worth a shot category.
Asante Samuel, I think, showing that he was healthy in Pittsburgh and playing well. So that'll be interesting to see what he does.
He's a guy that I had very high last year.
With the Chargers was, gosh, he could play the ball, but he was notoriously poor in run support and in some big moments. And then you find out, well, gosh, I don't know what he was dealing with, from an injury standpoint. Got himself healthy, and he played a little tougher in Pittsburgh.
A couple guys that I like a lot: Marcus Jones, great punt returner, great, good slot guy. Buster Brown, Monteric Brown for the Jaguars, coming off a sneaky good season. And then Cordell Flott, that's one guy I think will get a little more money than people expect from the Giants, who it took him a little while to develop, but he played pretty well last year.
He could really run, if I remember him coming out. Tennessee, I want to say he was out of Tennessee.
Yeah, and Cam Taylor-Britt's a guy who's really been up and down in his career. There are some interesting names out there: Kobe Durant, Martin Emerson, Josh Jobe, Eric Stokes, like guys that can play for you. Let's wrap up with the safeties. I don't know if you have any hot takes on Brian Cook of the Chiefs, or if you remember
Cincinnati.
Because he is a guy who
big
a
hitter
little bit
coming
like
out of college.
Trevin Morig last year, where I put this list out, I get some feedback. People like them some Brian Cook, a guy who's improved. Very athletic, plays with a lot of energy, and I think is hitting free agency at the right time. I have him as my top safety, ahead of Cam Curl, Kobe Bryant of the Seahawks, and Nick Cross, who's a good player for the Colts.
Those are good, solid players. I believe I was one of the ones who was on you on Merrick last year.
Yes.
But I did not offer you any opinions this year. I don't know if it was maybe it was just a lack of gratitude on your part. And I just felt, I don't know that I want to expend the time to fire off that text to try and help him out a little bit.
What do you mean a lack of gratitude?
I don't remember a thank you. I don't remember anything.
There was absolutely a thank you. Hey, I know this is,
but you fixed it. I appreciate that.
I said, hey, I know you can completely ignore this. Thank you. If you do it, no worries if you're too busy. What do you want from me, DJ? I'm just trying to make a direct
request. I mean, let's just be adults about it. Like, hey, if you don't have, if you could consider it. Oh, if you just please, I don't know. I don't want to bother you. I've already stopped reading. I've already stopped reading at that point. I don't even know what you asked.
I think you're right. Honestly, it's a good lesson for people listening out there. Just don't send group texts, group emails. It's always going to be better one-on-one. The second that you see the group, I'm like you shut off a little bit. We're like, I guess I can skate free. I don't even have to respond to this. The
move that's kind of a veteran move that I would not like, but I would just appreciate, and I get this all the time. Not all the time. I get it randomly. But you ever get the text that says, hey, got a sec, ... And then it's like, oh boy, here it comes. So you got to do the call. And it's like, hey, how's it going? Like, hey, I got my new list here, texting it to you. Just if you could just look it over real quick. It makes it much harder to say no over the phone call than it does over a group email that you sent to 95 people.
I sent it to 6 people. I
don't know. It was all blind. I couldn't see who else.
Well, I didn't want to be revealing, who these
email addresses,
other sources, other email.
Yeah, Bill Barnwell just blowing me up now. He's got my email address. I mean, I think we're okay.
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Mina, she's a big star. She's not going to want DJ contacting her out of draft season.
That public, that gets public, we got big problems.
Okay, I guess you don't have any big takes on. I kind of buried Reed Blankenship in the end, by the way. It feels like he's a solid player, just the guy. I always overrate safeties, by the way,
Really?
because I think they're good, and I think there's more average to plus starters available in free agency, but they just never get paid. So there's some fun guys out there like an Alohi Gilman, like a Jalen Hawkins who started the Super Bowl. Jalen Thompson's been a pretty good player for the Cardinals. If you need a safety, you can find one. Jaquan Brisker.
Who are the bigger guys in this group?
I mean, is Brisker a bigger guy, or he just?
I don't think he was super tall. He's physical.
Yeah,
I'd be curious about that because I've talked in teams talking about the draft stuff during this time of year, and I'm gonna do something at the combine, kind of like a searching for Seahawks thing. And if you look at the craze right now and all the leagues trying to find, which is the Derwin, Emanwari, Hamilton, big nickel that can do a lot of different things, but can be your force player there. Teams trying to find that guy. So
yeah. Donovan Wilson, is he a big guy for the Cowboys? Yeah, 6 feet.
Be interesting to just see who played in that role,
But he's, again, a lesser guy. Jaquan Brisker I struggled with just because of the concussion history. I never thought he'd have a season where, he's one of the NFL leaders in snaps last year. So good on him for getting healthy. All right, that's DJ helping me out with my list. I'm not sure how much it helped, but DJ's phoning in now because his name is first on the call sheet. 40s and free agents.
I like that my responsibility doesn't change at all. I get the nice promotion, the bump to the top of the page, and I don't have to do anything extra.
And you get carried on this episode. But it's all changing now. It's draft season. Next episode, we will do a combine preview. I'm really looking forward to that one. I won't be able to see you in Indianapolis because DJ's got just security around.
Are you going to be there, though?
At all. Of course I'm going to be there.
Okay.
For first handful of days. I get out of there by the time the real meat of it starts for you. But I'm there.
You paying your own way there? Or they're actually sending you there.
Well, who knows what's going on? But no, we are. NFL Daily will be there. We got some interviews on the books with some GMs. Maybe we can get a coach in the mix. That'll be next time on 40s and free agents. We will see you next week.
Hey, let me know when your train gets in. I'll see if I can pick you up.